In the cold heart of the 20th century, beneath gray, sleepless skies, shadows moved quietly within the Soviet laboratories, hidden from the world and fiercely guarded by the Iron Curtain of secrecy. While the West was busy deciphering cryptography and racing for nuclear dominance, the Soviets, driven by paranoia, ambition, and fear, were waging another kind of battle altogether, one in which the lines between science and nightmare were being blurred. As relentlessly ticking clocks passed through purges ordered by Stalin and into thaws ordered by Khrushchev, a darker experiment was unfolding, an odyssey into the psyche itself. This is a true story about Soviet mind control, a tale drenched in Cold War tension, wild ambition, and the enduring mysteries of the human mind. The year is 1951. Lubyanka Prison, infamous for its stone walls and muffled screams, serves as a starting point for most victims of the Soviet security apparatus. Within nearby labyrinthine corridors, scientists and functionaries of the KGB gather for a single purpose: to crack open the mechanics of consciousness and command thoughts far more powerful than any bullets. The door to psychotronics, as it is soon labeled, creaks open with a metallic groan, and the race for mind control, the ultimate manipulation, begins. The spark for these experiments lay partly in the echo of Western rumors. Reports of the CIA's MK-Ultra, the American mind control operation, filter through Soviet intelligence. A memo crosses a desk somewhere in Moscow. If the Americans can do it, so must we. Led by the shadowy leadership of Colonel Anatoly Slipchenko, the Soviets envision laboratories where science bends morality, where electrodes twitch and chemicals swirl, a world where the brain, the seat of rebellion and loyalty, might finally be conquered. The first targets are political prisoners, a chillingly convenient pool for scientific cruelty. Psychiatrists and neurologists, some compassionate, others drunk on power, subjected their captives to endless days and nights of interrogation. At the Institute of Brain Research, concrete walls resound with the snap of high-voltage currents as they probe for the elusive thought waves. The witnesses remembered victims, eyes wide with terror, forced into sleep deprivation, sensory isolation, and repetitive hypnotic suggestion. The goal: erase memories, implant new beliefs, manufacture obedience out of nothing. Science, as Dr. Vasily Mikhailov, one of the lead researchers, puts it, is the only path to true patriotism. His voice shakes, not with conviction, but with suppressed fear. For in Soviet laboratories, failure spells not just defeat, but ignominy, or worse. Mikhailov and his team wrestle with the brain's electrical impulses, making charts of neural arcs like generals, working out the strategies for a new front. They employ electroencephalography at the time, which was then a primitive technology, to decipher bioelectric signatures. Suspects were wired, probed, and monitored, their brain waves captured on graph paper in spiky lines, every one leading down another step in the crazy staircase of control. The mid-1960s saw technological breakthroughs that allowed scientists to push boundaries even further. Rumors began to circulate about the LIDA machine, which is said to be a device capable of influencing mental states remotely. It is a gray metallic box, barely larger than a suitcase, yet it emits radio pulses, which are said to relax or agitate at a distance. Reports leak into the Western media, fueling panic and Cold War paranoia. But inside Soviet laboratories, this was nothing less than an undeclared weapon. Troops tested under its influence report odd sensations, as if reality itself becomes softened, their thoughts swayed and willpower dulled. These are not the only experiments involving machinery. The Soviet Union hosts some of the most ambitious pharmacology programs in the world in its search for truth serums and agents that induce obedience. LSD, mescaline, scopolamine, all agents employed by the West are reinvented in Soviet laboratories. Psychiatrists like Dr. Lyudmila Volkov remembers the orders to give detainees injections of some kind, watching as personalities fragmented and memories unraveled, identities slipping away like so much sand through clenched fingers. But the true obsession of Soviet science is psychotronics, the theory that psychic phenomena like telepathy, telekinesis, and precognition might be harnessed for espionage and warfare. Institutes spring up across the Soviet republics, led by figures like Dr. Leonid Vasilev and visionary inventor Igor Smirnov. It is not a question of belief, Smirnov declares to the press in curt, clipped tones, but of ability. The mind is the most powerful weapon ever forged in history. Volunteers and conscripts are assembled in Leningrad and Novosibirsk for trials that are out of this world. The attempt to transmit thoughts across sealed rooms, to move objects without touching them, to force confessions, not by threats, but through sheer psychic pressure. The KGB closely monitors every step, skeptical, yet feverishly hopeful. Are there psi operators, hidden talents among the populace who can bend the rules of nature? The answer remains as murky as the Siberian wastelands, yet funding pours in, secrets pile up, and failure is never admitted. The dream persists, the enemy's mind is the final frontier. As decades pass, the science gets stranger. The 1970s and 80s bring a new wrinkle: electromagnetic fields and mind control research. Inspired by the work of American neuroscientist Jose Delgado, Soviet scientists commenced research aimed at controlling moods and actions via pulsed microwave signals. Reports from secret conferences held at the All-Union Institute of Radio Engineering detail hooded participants, separated behind thick panes of glass, as waves ripple invisibly through the air. Some subjects, reportedly real or fabricated, describe disappearance of will, confusion, or even total compliance. Western observers become increasingly alarmed. Documents from the CIA and British intelligence paint a picture of Soviet psychotronic threat, likening it to a silent arms race. Journalists descend upon Moscow with questions, but get only cryptic denials. Nothing of the sort happens here, says an unnamed Ministry of Defense spokesman in 1983, his words as icy as the winter winds outside. But behind closed doors, the game continues. In these laboratories, moral boundaries fade. Archive sources like those of Dr. Miriam Bratman, later declassified, describe how Soviet scientists expose elderly volunteers to prolonged electromagnetic pulses, tracking declines in cognition and mood. Some subjects deteriorate rapidly, retreating into catatonic silence. Others are pronounced disposable, a phrase chilled with bureaucratic indifference. As Glasnost draws a breath of openness into Russian life, the veil lifts, yet the scars remain concealed. Testimonies spill forth from surviving experimenters, haunted men and women recalling complicity, remorse, and terror. Dr. Oleg Smirnov, no longer young, speaks in cracked whispers. We thought we could make patriots. Instead, we nearly broke ourselves. These experiments left invisible wounds in the handfuls of their victims, fractured thoughts, fragmented memories, and lingering anxiety no regime change could erase. The few who managed to escape, either out of luck or due to sheer resilience, had their lives forever marked by the chill of state science gone awry. Their stories, seldom told, waft through the archives and memoirs like the fading echo of footsteps in long abandoned halls. Today, many specifics remain cloaked in secrecy, lost in time, classified by the Russian Federation, or simply denied by the individuals who created this system. Yet the lessons linger. The quest to master the mind, pursued with cold calculation and zealous faith, illuminated both the promise and peril of scientific power. It stands as a constant warning, a testament to the darkness that can emerge when ideals twist into obsession. This was the dark science behind the Soviet mind control experiments, a chapter of history written not on its open pages, but deep within its shadows, where ambition met fear and silence could last decades. As the Soviet Union began to crumble in the late 1980s, the past it had so methodically buried began clawing its way to the surface. Investigative journalists, defiant researchers, and defectors who had fled to the West pieced together fragments of a story too disturbing to ignore. Files tucked inside dusty Ministry of Defense cabinets showed testing sites scattered across the vast Soviet landscape, from secret bunkers in the Urals to psychological research wings in Leningrad. The paper trail led to code names like Project OMI, Sleeping Eagle, and Blue Lantern, operations designed to probe not just human behavior, but the very essence of free will. In one haunting account, journalist Andrei Soldatov described the work of an engineer named Viktor Kromenko, who worked on neurowave communication systems. He recalled rooms lined with metallic shielding, humming with low-frequency generators, and scientists wearing thick lead aprons to protect themselves. The goal, he said, was to bypass speech entirely, to communicate command directly to the brain. He described watching subjects become disoriented, then compliant as rhythmic pulses synchronized with their brain waves. We felt powerful, Kromenko admitted, and then we realized we couldn't stop it. His voice, trembling with age, carried the weight of a man who had glimpsed something humanity was never meant to touch. Outside Moscow, the town of Dubny was home to the Institute for Neuropsychological Research, a building shrouded in secrecy, rumored to investigate subquantum influence. In this facility, researchers immersed themselves in the works of Western parapsychologists, blending mysticism with experimental physics. Hundreds of personnel signed confidentiality agreements that prevented discussing their research for life. Those who broke silence met fates that remained mysterious disappearances chalked up to heart failure, accidents, or exile to psychiatric hospitals. In the USSR, silence was not merely a rule. It was survival. But most infamous of all was Psychotronic Weapon Research Directorate 3, located near the city of Novosibirsk. According to declassified intelligence documents, this facility explored remote influence technologies, tools capable of projecting microwave or infrasound energy designed to disturb mental equilibrium. One former director, Dr. Pavel Ivanenko, described seeing animals collapse mid-test, their nervous systems overwhelmed. When human subjects were exposed, he claimed, their behavior shifted dramatically from agitation to docility, from coherent thought to blank obedience. The implications were staggering. A soldier who might ignore orders could instead be made to obey them without question. Western agencies, sensing the same danger, launched counter-projects. In Washington, the CIA commissioned Project Grill Flame, an effort to study telepathy and psychokinesis. Even the Pentagon funded remote viewing, an attempt by gifted individuals to perceive enemy installations through pure thought. All the while, intelligence analysts feared that the Soviets were years ahead, wielding invisible forces that defied logic. The same fears echoed in congressional hearings during the 1980s. Scientists debated whether electromagnetic fields could truly change consciousness. Most dismissed it as pseudoscience, but the mere possibility sowed a kind of quiet dread. But behind the scenes, the Soviet ideology itself began to fray. By 1991, the USSR buckled under the weight of its contradictions, and so too did much of its secret research. Laboratories were abruptly shut down. Equipment vanished into black markets or private hands. But the knowledge, the formulas, the recordings, the data remained. Some of it resurfaced in strange places: state laboratories in Belarus, defense companies in Kazakhstan, and even rumored experiments in North Korea, where Soviet expatriates were said to have continued their work. The ghost of psychotronic warfare refused to die. In the 1990s, Russian newspapers dared to turn headlines unimaginable a decade earlier: the KGB's secret brain machines. Mind weapons in the Cold War, telepathic soldiers? Most viewed those stories as unfounded sensationalism. But beneath the hyperbole, an unmistakable thread of continuity emerged. In 1993, one declassified memo from Russia's Ministry of Defense candidly acknowledged, research into behavioral control continues under civilian supervision. What had started as a military endeavor was seeping into the private sphere, where oversight was nil and ideology took a backseat to profit. In one Moscow basement in 1995, a BBC crew filmed inventor Igor Smirnov demonstrating a computer system that he insisted could speak directly to the subconscious. Then and intense, Smirnov spoke of psychocorrection, the ability to change human behavior with subliminal audio signals hidden within music or speech. Western journalists promptly dubbed it acoustic mind control. Smirnov himself insisted that his technology could treat addiction and trauma, but the subtext was clear. The same tools could be turned toward manipulation, propaganda, even warfare. The line between therapy and coercion was razor thin, and the ghosts of Soviet research loomed large behind it. In the decades that followed, whispers of those technologies persisted. Russian patents from the 2000s referenced neurological influence devices and behavioral modulation systems. Conspiracy theorists burst into speculation. Some claimed microwave harassment, others saw government tracking in the crackle of their radios. Yet beneath the noise, real science advanced quietly. Neurologists today confirm that electromagnetic fields can alter mood, sleep cycles, and concentration, albeit nowhere near with the sensitivity the Soviets had once dreamed of. And yet, here was the intoxicating notion that minds might be engineered. To those who lived through it, the nameless patients, the coerced scientists, the agents who enforced silence, the story was never abstract. One survivor, known only as Irina, recalled the aftermath of her participation in forced hypnosis experiments. They told us we were helping science. But when I tried to think of my own name, it was like a fog. Days, weeks, I couldn't tell what was real. Her account, recorded by human rights activists, ends abruptly. She refused later interviews, choosing anonymity over memory. What stays with time is not only the horror of what happened, but the question as to what it means. Were these experiments the cruel byproducts of ideology, or inevitable expressions of humanity's hunger for control? The Soviet program revealed something timeless, the fear that freedom itself might be fragile. That thought could become a battlefield, unseen yet total. Today, remnants of this research exist in archives too vast for a single lifetime to study. Some are sealed forever. Others are gradually digitized, their whispers crossing academic forums, or they're dissected by curious neuroscientists who dare to ask the old forbidden questions. The deeper they look, the clearer it becomes. The dream of bending the human mind to another's will never died. It only changed names. The story of Soviet mind control is not only about cruelty, secrecy, or paranoia. It is a mirror held up to the soul of civilization. At its heart lies a chilling fact. Once science abandons ethics and curiosity loses compassion, then progress ceases to be enlightenment. It becomes tyranny with instruments instead of guns, and silence is its only language. Perhaps the most haunting legacy of these experiments in the end is not what they achieved, but what they revealed. The mind, fragile yet defiant, cannot be altogether imprisoned. Thought may be bent, but never broken. Even behind concrete and fear, in the darkest laboratories of the Soviet Union, fragments of human will still flickered, tiny, unyielding sparks against the machinery of control. And long after the Cold War thawed, those sparks remind us of one eternal truth. No empire, no ideology, no weapon can truly own the human mind. It belongs only to itself.